what to do next. What happens next? So we're in spring, right? So what from a coach's perspective, you guys haven't completely filled up your entire class, right? At this point,
right.
The roster, there's still availability. Talk about what's next. You cut players, there's open spots. How does that work for a kid like me that's undersized, whatever, says, hey, you know what? I'm done. It's over. What happens next?
I think there's two sides. I think from a player and the family side, it's don't panic. I think let's start there. Don't panic there. From a coach's perspective, the coaches are always reevaluating their roster. That's just what great programs do. They're always reevaluating their roster. Now, for some programs, realistically, they're going to be full. They're going to keep 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 roster spots, maybe scholarship spots, maybe 1 walk-on spot by a specific position. But they're going to, for the most part, they're telling everybody we're full. And that's realistic. That happens. And so families just have to kind of move on from there. But you're right. There is this constant evaluation through winter mat drills and winter strength and conditioning. There's players that might drop off. And especially now with the portal, there's kids that'll transfer and realize, like, this isn't the right place for me. I don't want to say I didn't like it, but just, this isn't the right place for me. Coaches are coming in and having those dialogues with players. Say, this might not be the right place for you, especially on turnovers on staffs. With all the new turnovers on staffs and new coaching staffs, there's all this constant reconfiguring of the roster all the time. Then you go through spring football. Then again, reevaluation, depth charts change. Players are happy, players are unhappy. Coaches are happy with certain players, they're unhappy with certain other players. Academics start to come into a factor. Certain guys might not be eligible, so they lose their position on the team. The conversations, the post-spring meetings, the one-on-one meetings with players after spring ball is over, those real-life conversations like, hey, Johnny, you're the third-string quarterback, and that's where you're going to be going into fall. And Johnny has a totally different evaluation of himself, and he goes, no, I think I should be the starter, so I'm going to go put myself in the portal. So now all of a sudden, there's not 3 quarterbacks, there's 2, or there's not 5, there's 4. And so now that kid leaves, and so now there's an opportunity in late spring, and we're looking at like April, May time of the year that these roster spots now come open. So even a school that said, or a program before that said, hey, we're full, now all of a sudden they have maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, or 10 roster positions open at different various positions that they didn't think they were going to have open, let's say in December. So that's kind of how this all changes and evolves, and it's so organic. It's always flowing. This is why I always encourage recruits to create great relationships with coaches, whether or not they say they're full, whether or not they say you don't have an option here anymore. Thank you very much. Thanks, but no thanks, basically. It's okay. You always never burn a bridge. You always keep a great positive relationship. Always have a great positive relationship with your high school coach, because the high school coach is also someone that's going to call on your behalf in the spring, in the late spring, or he's entertaining college coaches coming in looking for the next recruiting class and saying, hey, like right now is a great example. We're in March, and technically 2024 class is probably done at most places around the country. But when coaches go back on the road and start doing spring recruiting in May for 2025-26, now all of a sudden they're coming in and saying, hey, Coach Z, do you have a guy? We actually lost an offensive lineman. I know you had an O-lineman on your roster. Did he sign anywhere? Did he go anywhere? Or, hey, 2 years ago, I knew you had a DB. Didn't he go to a junior college or something like that? Is he still sitting around? We really liked him a year or 2 ago. What's his availability like? And so those conversations really happen at the midnight hour, we'll say, and even in late spring recruiting for what should be a year or 2 later. But really, they're now because of the transfer portal and things like that, positions open up, roster spots open up in late spring.